Hey, good morning. It's 8 a.m. It's not that early. I've been up since about 6 o'clock. Oh, do you like my pajama? I hadn't noticed. Is this showing a bit much? I can't really tell. Yeah, my wife got us matching pajamas for me, her, and our baby girl. But we're all family here, right, patrons? I can. You know, I'm sure you're all wearing your Where's Waldo pajamas this morning too. I wanted to catch up. There's a lot going on next week, and I wanted to give you all a heads up about that and about what's happening in October. It's maybe been a little bit quiet for the past couple of weeks, ever since we sort of did the Dream Daddy stuff. There's been loads going on in the background for projects that are happening this month and the next couple of months and next year. We've actually got an amazing lineup coming, along with our big push next week for Noclip 2.0, our new funding drive. So without further ado, let's get into it. First things first, Noclip podcast. I recorded one episode earlier this week, and I'm recording another one today. So the next two episodes are locked in. The first one is something that people have been asking me to do in some form or another forever. It's about the history of giantbomb.com. I interviewed Jeff Gerstmann for a couple of hours on Monday, I think it was, and we're going to turn that into a retrospective piece, basically about sort of focusing on Jeff a lot of it actually. His early career, what got him into games, the sort of whole GameSpot stuff, Giant Bomb running it, the future of the company, all that sort of stuff. So that's going to be episode 3 of the Noclip podcast, coming some stage this month. The other one is I'm having an interview with Rami Ismail from Vlambeer later today, sort of about the misuse of foreign cultures in Western games. This all stemmed from a Twitter post that I saw, which is kind of a recurring theme where Arabic text is being used in games incorrectly. I'm going to talk to him about this whole thing, but I might also try and pull in some other folks from other cultures to see if they can give their insight into African culture being sort of misrepresented or Asian culture being misrepresented. Because I find the whole thing as a workflow problem within games, as well as a perception problem within games, completely fascinating. So basically what that turns into, I'll kind of know once I've done talking to Rami. Maybe it'll be good enough on its own right, and we can just put that one out there. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun little episode. I don't know if that'll be this month, that might be early next month, we'll see. I'm gonna try and get a bit of decent pace to them, like have them every 3 weeks or whatever. But yeah, recording that later today and really looking forward to it. Next up, our continuing efforts to release documentaries by Bethesda games continues. The final documentary production from our filming back in, it was May, I can't believe it was that far away, is the Fallout Shelter, Fallout Blades doc. It's actually been split in two. So the Shelter story on its own and the Blades doc on its own were so kind of, they worked separately better in my mind, and they're also shorter, which they felt punchier, and they're more snackable, kind of like mobile games. So they've been split in two. So the Blades one's going to come later this month. Shelter's out next week, so we're going to set it public on Tuesday. Yep, Tuesday the 9th. It's about 25 minutes long, all about the development of that game. Should be a lot of fun to watch. And then the other one on the Elder Scrolls Blades, like I said, it's halfway through editing at the moment. I'm trying to get that done the next week or so, and then we'll get it out later this month, in later October. Part of me just wants to get them out because we've done so much Bethesda stuff at this stage, but also the work comes first, and for me they definitely work better as a two-parter. So yeah, excited to get Shelter out next week, and I hope you enjoy it. And the other one will be out later this month or early next month, we'll see. Okay, let's talk about Noclip 2.0. On Monday, which is Columbus Day here in the States, we're going to be launching a trailer for Noclip 2.0, which is basically our next funding drive. I guess the only one we've done since we really launched the Patron. Every now and again we ask people, hey, chip us a couple of bucks a month, or it comes up in the credits or something, but we've never really explicitly asked the now, 1/3 people that subscribe on the YouTube channel. The video sort of details 4 things that we'd like to do, 4 types of productions that we currently don't do, and the 4 levels of funding we would require to do them. I've actually already rebranded our Twitter, YouTube page and the Patreon page with all the new graphics for 2.0, as well as the new goals and the new milestone rewards and graphics and stuff like that. So the whole Patreon's been given a refresh. And I also put up a post for patrons a couple of days ago that sort of details that as well. basically what I'm asking you as patrons to do is to help me spread the word. On Monday when the trailer goes live, just tweet it out, maybe talk about the reason you're a patron and the things you get out of it, the project you're most proud of funding. Anything like that to try and get the word out. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe we'll get an extra 50 patrons. Maybe we'll get an extra 500 patrons. I really don't know. At the level we're at sort of funding now, like we could continue doing the way we're doing stuff at our current level of funding, absolutely. The next sort of level we need to get to, it's outlined in the various goals that we're getting, but we're at a stage now where our burn rate's pretty okay, and anything we get extra is going to make a pretty significant difference. So like it says it on the page, but if we got up to 25,000 a month, that would actually really help doing multi-city shoots. Speaking of which, actually, let's talk about the next project, because this one's a bit crazy. Actually, I'm gonna have to hold on a second. All right, don't get your hopes up. We're not going to Valve, but we're doing something really cool. Okay, so earlier this year I talked about something called Project Lambda. I was referring to it then. Now we're referring to it as Project Mesa because a modding community is now making a remake of Half-Life 1 again, I think in Unreal Engine under the name Project Lambda, so we probably shouldn't use that. The idea was to basically do something for Half-Life's 20th anniversary, which is coming up in mid-November. Half-Life is perhaps my favorite game of all time, and I've wanted to do something around this game forever. I reached out to Valve, we didn't hear back from them. I reached out again, didn't hear back from them, and then I decided, look, we're probably not going to be able to do something with the developers at Valve. I had thoughts about, I did a bunch of research into finding where everyone was, all the people who had left the company, to see if we could interview them. In the end, what I've actually decided to do is a totally new type of documentary that we've never done before. So in lieu of bugging all the people who worked on the original game without Valve's buy-in, because I sort of think that maybe we might actually get there, what we're actually going to do is a celebratory documentary about the legacy of Half-Life. So essentially, for the second half of October, I'm going to be flying around the country. I'm going to be based in Austin, Texas for about 2 weeks, and I'm going to be using that as a hub to fly to different places in the center of the country and also on the West Coast to interview developers, modders, community members about the impact of the 1998 version of Half-Life and also sort of everything that's come since. I can't say exactly who we're interviewing yet. We have, I'd say, maybe 8 people lined up at this stage. Folks who've worked on mods, folks who've worked in the sort of Counter-Strike community, journalists who covered the game when it first came out, and then a handful of like some of the biggest developers in first-person design. We've got some really big names lined up for this, and the piece itself is basically going to be like a road trip, like my sort of road trip as a fan of this series, trying to understand what Half-Life means in 2018, like what it means to be 20 years from the launch of that game and the actual impact of that first game on the games industry as a whole. So it's going to be a bit different to what we've done before in that it's kind of a road trip movie. We're going to be filming, going to different places. I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I think at least 5 cities it's going to be set in. We're offsetting the costs in that I'm going to be filming quite a lot of it myself on this guy. I'm hoping that Jeremy will be able to join me for the Los Angeles leg of it, which is about 2 days of filming there of a bunch of interviews. Kind of some of this depends on how Noclip 2.0 does actually, because a big part of the funding drive is to be able to do multi-city shoots, which I can do on my own for less cash, but if I start bringing contractors along with me, it obviously puts the production costs up quite a bit. So yeah, I'm really excited to do this. I've wanted to do something on Half-Life my whole life. My hope is that perhaps, this might open a door to doing something with Valve at a certain point. I don't really know. What I really wanted to do more than anything was I did not want the anniversary of Half-Life to pass and there not be something for fans to just be able to surround and celebrate the game with. I know a bunch of people will go back and play the first game and there'll be people talking about it on forums and sharing their favorite memories and all that sort of stuff, but I really wanted like something that people could just, didn't have to be an active participant in, that they could just sit back and let their fandom kind of wash over them. So that's the idea of this. I'm the Cypher, I am the every man who will be traveling around America talking to people about why this game means so much to so many people. And the whole thing actually came together because I had a rush of blood to the head a couple of months back and was like, oh, you know what, maybe I should just do, we're not going to be able to do something with Valve, and I don't really want to bug Michael Abrash and do this thing on the side. Maybe we will eventually, but like, it would be cool to just, you know, maybe a bunch of devs who make my favorite games, now that I have all their emails because of Noclip, maybe I can just reach out to them and see. And I basically bugged a bunch of people over Twitter and email, just like, would you be interested? Would you be interested in it? And everybody said yes. So we kind of had to do it at that stage. But yeah, that's called Project Mesa. Keep it to yourself for the moment. If you don't mind, we've got a lot of announcements coming next week with the 2.0 and Shelter coming. So probably by the end of next week, I'll start to talk about the fact that I'm gonna be on the road filming this. The idea is to get it up in November at some stage. We're also going to go out filming at some stage in November is the plan on another project. So we've got some other stuff coming before the end of the year too, but I can't talk about any of that stuff yet. And that's kind of the update for today. That's kind of all I wanted to talk about. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Cool, all right, I have to get back to work. I just outputted another version of the Shelter doc because I had spelled my surname wrong in one of the lower thirds, would you believe? Yeah, exciting month coming up here on Noclip. Next week we've got a bunch of stuff and I really appreciate you doing some hot ass signal boosting. I have to get dressed because I look like an asshole. I'll see you later. Bye.